It's a quiet street, a routine traffic stop, red and blue lights reflecting off a windshield. A police officer steps out of the car, adjusts something on their chest, and in that moment, everything that happens next may be recorded, preserved, replayed, debated, and judged by millions. But here's the unsettling question. If everything is being recorded, why do controversies still happen? And more importantly, do police body cameras actually show the truth, or just a version of it? I want you to think about that for a second and let me know in the comments. When you see body cam footage online, do you automatically trust what you're seeing, or do you feel there might be more to the story? Because what we're about to explore goes far deeper than just a camera clipped onto a uniform. Police body cameras, often called body-worn cameras, were introduced with a simple and powerful promise: transparency. The idea was straightforward. If officers record their interactions with the public, it could reduce misconduct, protect officers from false accusations, and provide clear evidence when things go wrong. At first glance, it sounds almost perfect. A neutral witness that never blinks, never forgets, and never lies. But reality is rarely that simple. The modern push for body cameras began gaining serious momentum in the early 2010s, particularly after several high-profile incidents involving police use of force in the United States and other countries. Public trust was shaken, and communities demanded accountability. Governments responded with funding, departments adopted new policies, and within a few years, body cameras went from rare equipment to standard issue in many places. Studies began to emerge suggesting that the presence of cameras could reduce complaints against officers and even decrease the use of force in some situations. The logic seemed clear. When people know they're being recorded, they behave differently. But here's where things start to get complicated, because a camera does not capture reality, it captures perspective. Think about that. Every body camera is mounted at chest level, angled slightly outward. It records what's in front of the officer, but not necessarily what the officer sees with their eyes. It doesn't capture peripheral vision, it doesn't fully convey depth, distance, or speed, and perhaps most importantly, it doesn't record what the officer is feeling. Imagine a tense situation. A suspect reaches into their pocket. The officer's heart rate spikes. Adrenaline floods their system. Time seems to slow down. In that moment, the officer may perceive a threat that isn't obvious on camera. Later, when the footage is reviewed in calm conditions, it may look very different. So the question becomes, whose reality matters more? The one experienced in the moment, or the one replayed afterward? This is one of the central tensions surrounding body cameras. Legally, body camera footage is often treated as powerful evidence. Courts rely on it. Investigators analyze it frame by frame. Juries watch it to determine guilt or innocence. But the law also recognizes that video evidence is not infallible. It can be incomplete, misleading, or open to interpretation. There's even a term sometimes used in legal discussions: the camera perspective bias. It refers to the idea that viewers tend to adopt the perspective of the camera holder. When the camera is worn by a police officer, viewers may unconsciously align with the officer's viewpoint, even if they don't realize it. Now think about that carefully. If the camera itself subtly shapes perception, then what we believe we're seeing may not be entirely objective. And then there's the issue of when cameras are actually recording. You might assume that once an officer is wearing a body camera, everything is continuously captured. But in many departments, cameras are manually activated. Officers are required by policy to turn them on during certain interactions, like traffic stops or arrests. However, there have been cases where cameras were not activated, either intentionally or accidentally. This raises another uncomfortable question. What happens when the most critical moment isn't recorded? Some systems include a feature called pre-event buffering, which continuously records video without audio and saves a short clip from before the camera is activated. But even this has limitations. It may capture a few seconds, not the full context, and context is everything. A short clip can completely change the narrative depending on where it starts and ends. A video that begins in the middle of an incident may leave out crucial details that explain how the situation escalated. This is why investigators often rely on multiple sources of evidence: witness statements, additional camera angles, forensic data, not just body cam footage alone. Still, in the public eye, body camera videos often become the defining version of events. You've probably seen clips online: a confrontation, a dramatic arrest, a heated argument, millions of views, thousands of comments, people forming strong opinions within seconds. But here's something to consider. How often do we see the full story? Body camera footage released to the public is sometimes edited, redacted, or delayed. Faces may be blurred, audio may be removed, certain segments may be withheld for legal reasons, such as protecting an ongoing investigation or respecting privacy laws, and privacy is another major factor that complicates the use of body cameras. Police officers don't just operate in public spaces, they enter homes, respond to medical emergencies, interact with victims of crime, often in deeply personal and sensitive situations. Recording these moments raises serious ethical questions. Should a victim of domestic violence be filmed while recounting their experience? Should a person in a medical crisis have their condition recorded? Should children be captured on video during police interactions? Different jurisdictions have different rules, but there's no universal answer. Balancing transparency with privacy is one of the most difficult challenges in body camera policy. And then there's the impact on police officers themselves. From one perspective, body cameras can provide protection. They can document professionalism, disprove false allegations, and serve as evidence when officers follow proper procedures. Many officers have reported feeling more secure knowing their actions are being recorded, but at the same time, constant recording can also create pressure. Every decision, every word, every action may be scrutinized later. This can lead to what some describe as performance policing, where officers become hyper-aware of how their actions will appear on camera. Does that improve behavior, or does it change it in ways we don't fully understand? There's also the question of training. Body cameras are tools, not solutions. Their effectiveness depends on how they're used. Officers need clear guidelines on when to record, how to interact while recording, and how to handle the footage afterward. And departments need systems to store, manage, and review massive amounts of data. A single officer can generate hours of footage per shift. Multiply that by an entire department, and you're dealing with enormous storage and administrative demands. All of this requires funding, infrastructure, and oversight. So while body cameras are often presented as a simple fix, the reality is far more complex. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. If a camera can't capture everything, if it can be turned off, if it shapes perception, and if it raises privacy concerns, then what exactly is it giving us? The answer lies somewhere between truth and interpretation. Body cameras do provide valuable evidence. They can reveal details that might otherwise be missed. They can hold people accountable. They can protect both officers and civilians in many situations. But they are not a perfect window into reality. They are a tool, one piece of a much larger puzzle. And perhaps the most important thing we can do as viewers, as citizens, is to approach body cam footage with awareness. When you watch a clip, ask yourself, what might be missing? What happened before this moment? What can't be seen or heard? How might the angle of the camera influence what I'm perceiving? Because understanding these limitations doesn't weaken the value of body cameras. It strengthens our ability to interpret them responsibly. As technology continues to evolve, body cameras are also changing. Some newer models include features like automatic activation when certain triggers occur, integration with other systems like vehicle cameras, and even early forms of artificial intelligence to help analyze footage. But with these advancements come new questions. How much automation is too much? Who controls the data? How is it stored, and who has access to it? Could footage be misused, leaked, or taken out of context? These are not just technical questions. They are legal and ethical ones that societies around the world are still trying to answer. And that brings us back to the core idea. The truth about police body cameras is not that they reveal everything, and not that they hide everything, but that they exist in a complicated space between visibility and limitation. They shine a light, but they don't illuminate every corner. They record events, but they don't capture every perspective. They provide evidence, but they don't eliminate interpretation. So the next time you see body cam footage, remember, you're not just watching an event, you're watching a version of it. And understanding that difference might be the most important insight of all. Now I'm curious to hear from you. Do you believe police body cameras have made law enforcement more accountable? Or do you think they still leave too many unanswered questions? Share your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is far from over.